Hey there and welcome to Honest Dan's Let's Play Below. I picked up this game pretty recently and I was really impressed with the game itself. I hadn't followed along any of the hype. I just picked it up pretty much on a whim and I've kind of fallen in love with the game. It really instilled the sense of wonder and mystery and discovery in games that I feel is missing from a lot of games these days, and massive kudos to the game developers. As a game developer myself, I really have admired uh, so much of the content and the thought behind the design and the implementation of this game. So I've completed the game recently. I want to play from start to finish again. I'm starting with nothing at all. You can see on the radar I've discovered nothing. I can't go down any floors. I haven't died. My lantern, I don't have the lantern. And in terms of my inventory, I'm starting with nothing at all. So for anyone who's completely new to the game, it's an action survival game where you pretty much play this perspective the whole time. You turn up on a beach. The starting sequence just very atmospherically zooms in from very far away over around 4 minutes, and you see your boat slowly sail in to this beach, and this is the place where you will spawn every time you die. Now, I'm just going around to collect things. I'm hoping to play through this without any deaths. That would be great from start to finish now that I know it. So I'm trying to collect items as much as I can. I'm trying to be as sensible as I can as I play through. So you can see items on the map through these shining sections and the different items that you get. I'll talk through how to play as if you haven't played the game. Hopefully I'll give you a bit of an insight into how it works. So I'm on water right now as well. You can use the water and you can fill up your water, or your thirst you should call it. So I should press Q quickly and show you. Here are your survival kind of statistics. You have hunger, you have your warmth, and then you have your hydration. And these are the items I picked up. So I've got some food, and I've got some turnips, and I'm able to cook these in order to produce some different types of foods and stews, etc. Now at this point in the game, I found there's a little cave here on the right. And you'll notice when you start dying, this is probably the best, most ideal way to come in, because it gets you into the dungeon quicker. But what you'll find is I can't get across this bridge, and this is typical of the game. Whereas you get deeper into the different layers of the game, you will find yourself coming to the other side of this area, and you'll be able to release this drawbridge, which means that you can get into the game and catch up with your progress faster next time that you start again, should you die in the dungeon. So at the moment, yeah, we've got water. There's some fish in that pond there. Fish, interestingly, are a source of food as well. You do find an item in the game that allows you to catch the fish. There was a bonfire there, which I could have lit and I could have got cooking, but at the moment I'm going to just crack on and go ahead. Now, I remember when I first played this, climbing up this cliff, I just thought how much of a great sense of kind of wonder that it gives you, and a sense of scale of how small you are to the environment. And I think that really sets the tone for what's ahead of you as well, because you do feel like such a tiny little lonely wanderer where kind of nothing's on your side, you know, there's no one to talk to, there's no text in the game. Instead you're just in this vast mysterious area trying to figure out what to do and trying to just tickle your own curiosities. And the first thing you're drawn to is this lantern. And this lantern plays a pivotal part in the game. So you see, you can press F and it gives us light, which is useful, but it does a little bit more than that, because this lantern is imbued with magical powers. You can see that it shows up these blue lines on the floor here, but in addition to that, it also can be used to shine a light, and this can be used for various purposes in the game. And one of the main things we're going to be using it for ourselves is to open up doors which require this light in order to open. So I'm not going to explore everywhere. I'm quite familiar with the game now, having played through it once. So I'm going to generally head in the right direction, but I do recommend, if you're playing this for the first time, you should try and explore. It's very rewarding to explore this game, because quite often there's little hints of things to come, or you find things that you can immediately reveal and discover, which is very rewarding from a player point of view. So here we go. This is showing us that we can hold F to shine the light, and this light will give us access to certain doors that would otherwise remain shut. And a great example of, you know, it's very limited hand holding in this game. You get taught the mechanics, the level design on the first floor you get to will teach you a bit about the idea of traps and avoiding traps and how to be aware of traps before you walk into them. But it teaches you in a safe way, which is something I really, really enjoyed. You quite often find these linking sections as well, and like the cliff face at the beginning, we have these kind of sections where, I mean, there's no challenge to them, but I think they just set a bit of atmosphere. They give a sense of scale, and they help you feel like you are really traveling down below and getting deeper and deeper every time that you finish a layer or a level in the game. So the combat in the game, I was very surprised. And when I say surprised, it's not because I expected it to be bad, but the mechanics of it are really simple. You have a normal slash attack, 2 in a row. You can run and attack, and you'll do a jumping lunge like that. You can dash and attack, and you'll do a jab. You can hold your shield out to block, or you can tap your shield, and you'll knock back with your shield. And, you know, there's arrows as well. There's a couple of other weapons you'll find in the game, but realistically, that's about it. But it still feels like you have decisions to make in the game. So we're at our first campfire. We're gonna cook some food now. Yeah, I don't think we can get. So when you're crafting, you can see what you're gonna make down on the bottom left. The 3 pluses is the best one you'll make, but no combination of these is gonna give me that. So I'll just craft that for now. And we're gonna go and let down that drawbridge that we saw a little earlier. Now, there's a few items in here we need. Those slimy stones are very, very valuable. They allow you to create bandages, which is a very important part of staying alive. And we just found one of the first weapons, which is the spear. Now, the spear, the main use, I don't actually use it in combat. I'm not sure if anyone else does, but the main thing you can do with it is you can spear some fish to give yourself some food. So you can see there's 3 different fish moving about in here. It's a bit difficult. You move quite slowly when you're charging it, and they do move, but you can dodge around. There's a bit of patience needed sometimes, and a bit of skill, which I perhaps am lacking at the moment. But if we chop this down, we should get ourselves a few haunches of meat from those fish, which is great. And we'll go around and we'll get to that drawbridge now. So that chest that we just looted is kind of like a blue rock. And those are ones that will tend to give you a special piece of armor, or they can also give you a weapon, as it just did then. So they're the good kind of chests that you want. But their spawn rates, it seems so random. Quite often you'll just get them instead of chests like this. So we've got a bandage, we've got an extra bottle, and that's one thing I'm thinking is going to be difficult whilst not dying, is getting enough bottles. Because that's the main way that I got more bottles during the game, was through dying. And you can re-loot that chest, and that chest always has a bandage and a bottle within it. So that's a concern. But we will see if it becomes a concern for us. Now, if the fire is still going, we're in a good place, because that means we can cook this up as well. Now we've got some extra fish meat. So we are going to combine this, and three fish meat gives us a very nice stew. So that will restore more health when you consume it. And if you're consuming food on its own, some of the foods will give you a bit of thirst back as well. But anything that you cook will give you your heat, temperature kind of stat. It'll replenish that as well for you. Okay, so we're in the first bit. This is the floor 1, and generally this is the game. You'll come to a floor, you don't really know the way to go. All the hint you have is a map, and the map is telling you where the exit of the room is. Now this only has one exit down to the south, but other rooms will have multiple exits. You run around. Now you can run around holding shift, but the idea of the game, you'll discover quite quickly, is you need to play things a little cautiously. Now I know there's not many dangers on this first floor, so I can run around quite happily. But broadly speaking, what you should be doing is hitting your lantern on, and that will show you the way. Now, my lantern I can't use at the moment because I have no crystals. So when I press F, you can see there's 0 crystals up the top right. So I need to accumulate crystals through killing some enemies. So I can't use it at the moment. So at the moment we are wandering through the dark. Now to change that, I could craft a torch, or I could just use the torch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bind this. I tend to play, if I don't have my lantern at least, I tend to play torch on one and I tend to use a plaster on the other. So we're going to go with that again. So if I want to light up the way and get my torch out, you notice when I got my torch out, I don't actually have access to my shield either. So I can wave my stick around. That's the right click function now, but I'm unable to use my shield to defend myself. So that's, you know, it has its uses, but it's worth being aware of. Because you do really need the light to avoid traps, or have a very keen eye. But some enemies will lunge at you, and if you don't have your shield prepared, you'll take some damage. So it's worth finding that balance. Okay, so you may have noticed the noise and the icon coming up saying that I'm hungry. And we come across some of our first enemies here. Now you can see they drop crystals. Be very careful with these crystals. You can easily knock them off the edge, and we don't particularly want to do that because they don't fly to you. You literally need to walk over these things in order to pick them up. So be cautious how you kill the enemies if you're short on the crystal resource. Otherwise they'll fall off, as you just saw there. So it does make you think a little bit about how you're going to attack. Now it's worth showing now then, I guess. If we'll take off our torch, I guess. I'll put it back on one, but we'll turn it off. Now I've got my lantern on. Can you see the red line that comes underneath the trap? That's what the lantern does. It highlights to you dangers. So this is a simple trap where you just trip over. It doesn't cause you any damage. But if I don't have my lantern on, you can't see it. You can see there's something there, but it doesn't show you the danger as such. Now later we will come across traps that will kill you in one go. Now these traps are really handy because they're a great supply of string. If you do a jumping attack at them, you cut them in half and then you're able to use or salvage the string, which you can then use in your own crafting. So I'm fully exploring at the moment. I could easily just skip down to the bottom, but I'm trying to just make sure I got plenty of items to keep me going. My hunger level is low, so we're going to take this moment to replenish. And what I'll do, I'll use the 2+, so you can see how much it replenishes. So you can see now it doesn't go all the way up, and that's the difference between the 2 and the 3. We'll replenish some water, and we'll get into the next room. Okay, so I tend to check the map when I go to new rooms. It gives you an idea about what to expect, so we can see the exit is bottom left, but this is a double diamond stack room, which means it's a room with a room inside it. And that tends to mean that there's some chest or something for you to discover inside of it. Sometimes the way is blocked, and what that means is you'll need to use some special item in order to open the door, but this one I think is just an open doorway for you to go in and explore. So once again, it's the designers really implementing. They've already taught you about traps in a way that isn't going to upset you or frustrate you. You just fall over. It's quite comical, if anything. And now they're teaching you about what the map does. You know, what's this special icon? And you realize, oh, there's a room that I can go in. So very, very, very nicely implemented. A little, you know, a sense of wonder of what is it, but quite if you focus in, it's quite a decent and quick learning process that goes on. Now I'm full on items at the moment, and one of the least useful items I found were these rocks. You can combine them and they make a spike, and then you can combine that to make some form of kind of traps that you can place down, but I really didn't find myself using them too often. So what I'm doing now is combining the raw materials in order to make items, and I know that this combined with this is always going to give you a bandage. Now if I was to do a string, it would give me a weak bandage, but if I want to combine it with the weave that I've put together through combining 3 strings, it'll give me the stim pack, which is pretty much the best healing item in the game. Now one thing that was also a bit annoying is rearranging your inventory. Now I quite like having my bandages up at the top, and then all the new items I'm finding can go elsewhere. So the way I gotta achieve this, you can't drag and drop things around, but I would just drop the things that I want at the top first. I'll move away, and then I will drop the things that I'm not so interested in keeping up there. And then we can just go back and collect them in the order that we want. And now I know it seems faffy, it's really faffy. But, I mean, unless you're in your pocket or the stash area, it's the best way that I found to achieve it. I'm just wondering what the shining item up here was, or was it, oh, that was the water, I believe. Yeah, it's the water in the distance that's shining. Okay, great. So let's go and have a look what's inside this area. And very rarely will these lead into a different section of the map. They normally just kind of dead ends. Okay, so we found our first mushroom. So mushrooms are combined when cooking to create potions. So they still act like a food source. However, they will give it a beneficial kind of effect that lasts for a set duration of time too. Some of them are quite kind of, I guess, self-explanatory. You can guess what they can do by the icon of the potion. But some of them I still don't truly understand exactly what they do. So there's one that increases attack power, there's one that increases defense. There's one that will show up crystals from a distance, I believe. There's one that will stop your survival statistics from decreasing for a set duration. So yeah, there's different effects based on the type of mushroom that you find. So at the end of most floors you'll come across this. This is a gated kind of piece of the level where you need to find a key in order to open it. Now this question mark icon will come up whenever you need to have an item of some form in order to interact with the object, and at the moment I lack the object to interact with it, so when I press E on it, it just makes a noise and implies I can't do anything. So I'm going to go towards the red that I'm drawn to naturally and hope that I find myself the key. One thing I really enjoyed about the enemies in this is they have good clear tells when they're about to attack. Always rewarding in games when you're able to make the decision of when to attack and when to dodge based on tells and clues that the enemies have in their animations, so that was good for me. Okay, so we found the key down here. Let's collect that, and you'll see first off there was a mysterious noise and things seem nice and dark for us, but secondly the keys come up in an extra tab that isn't there unless you're holding any keys or marbles, the second type of item that goes in this slot. So you'll consume this when you use it. So we've placed it in there. You'll see now we no longer have that extra slot. So we've used that key, and if we die, we never need to find it again. It's a permanent save point. You could, well, it permanently saves the fact that you've opened that door. Excellent. Okay, so we've got some crystals, 25 crystals in fact. And again, this is a case of the developers teaching you a thing or two about what you can do. So 25 crystals is the exact amount you need in order to save your progress. So let's go through and show how that works. And when I say save, what I actually mean is set a waypoint. So it doesn't save the game is continually saved. But if you use this icon on the left, it will set a waypoint here. So if you die, you can teleport back here through lighting any other bonfire in the game. However, once you travel to it once, you will lose that kind of checkpoint. So it's a one-use fast travel system. I'm not actually going to set it because I don't feel I'm in a position where I'm going to die at the moment. We're going to make a potion, so you can see I'm combining two food things with a mushroom. You need to combine, you can't have two mushrooms together with one food, it needs to be two pieces of food you combine. Now, my understanding of different food types, if I do 3 turnips, you'll see it's quite a low quality bit of food I get out of it. So I tend to try and use these low quality bits of food with the mushrooms, because I think the mushroom gives the same regardless, because it creates a different type of object. I think it's a case of you'll get the same benefit from it regardless. So that's what I do. I don't know if it's definitely beneficial or not, but yeah, that's what I'm doing when I'm deciding what ingredients to use. Now I'm going to chuck my lantern on a bit because I've saved 25 crystals through not saving there. I'm going to chuck it on just because one, it shows you traps. We're now going to be on a layer where we can die. The traps are no longer friendly, and secondly, you can discover secrets using this. It'll show you. So one of the main parts of the game is discovering all the missing shards of this lantern. And in order to find it, you can find it without using the lanterns, but to claim it, you need to use the lantern. And having the lantern out will really highlight it to you so you can't miss them. So we can see there's 2 different ways we can go, left or right. Let's just get through. I'm going to try and play quite quick. I'll explain things along the way should I see necessary. So here we can see that we have a trap. That highlighted red is there because of the lantern. So that's why it's really good having the lantern. It really helps you if you're rushing to be able to see where the danger is. If you just attack it or let your sword trigger it, then you can't get hurt by it. You can walk into it, and once it's already triggered, you will not take damage. So that's generally the way you should do it. You go through and disarm the traps, and they will remain disarmed until you die, where the kind of world is regenerated. Well, to an extent at least. So let's see how far we can get through. Hopefully we can get, when I say that, hopefully we can get through without dying. We know we can. It's just a case of concentration. Okay, so that was me taking 3 hits because I got stuck behind a rock, which meant my dodge messed up. I messed it up. I tried dodging into the rock and it failed. But I was more focusing on that. I can heal quite easily the damage I just sustained. So you notice the crabs are not the easiest. Then when I started the game, I really struggled against them. Now I can beat them quite easily. I tried drawing out that fight to show you the way that they attack. So they do dodge, they do lunge at you. But generally, if you hold the shield out, you will block their attacks. If they attack multiple times in quick succession, I think they can knock your shield back and get an attack on you. But generally speaking, the types of crabs we're seeing here are not going to cause you those sorts of problems. So you can see it's taking two attacks to kill those. Really what I should be doing is doing the run and jump attack, and that'll kill them in one, I believe. Okay, so I'm currently looting a small little rat, and you'll see these. This is basically the way for you to get food in the game. The food grows in the ground. Sometimes it comes from enemies, but other times there's these kind of neutral little critters running around the map, and they will burrow away if you don't run and kill them quickly. It's like these bats. The bats will come, they don't cause harm, but they will slow you down, and you can slash your sword and kill a bunch of them. And through killing them, some of them you'll be able to loot, and some of them you'll be able to get meat from. So it's a way for you to kind of keep your food supply going. Now I'm pretty low at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and, well, just to show, we'll take the triple potion. You can see how much more health it does give you, so it takes me all the way full now. And I'm also cautious of, we're going to turn off my lantern just to save a bit of energy in that. We'll combine some sticks. We'll combine 3 of those. I'm in a position where I can create one of the most useful arrows in the game, which is the bomb arrows. So that'll allow me to destroy certain kind of blockades in the map, as well as destroy enemies. So I'm just doing that thing where I rearrange my inventory a bit. And we should actually probably equip our bow so I can show you how the bow and arrow works as well. It's useful, I just find it's... I tend to play with the sword more. As much as I love normally wielding a bow and arrow in a game, I find having to craft and manage your arrow supply can be a little... It's not tedious, it's just a case of... it's something else you've got to manage. And you're already managing your hunger, you're already managing... not walking on traps, you know, so for me it's an extra thing to manage, which I prefer not to have to think about. And the sword against most enemies is going to be reliable. So there's a little fox we just ran past. Now, killing these initially made me feel bad, and that was before I realized how scarce food really is in this game. So yeah, when you do find critters like that, you know, it's against my moral code outside of gaming, but really if they're going to play a big part in your survival. So if these bats are annoying you, by the way, one thing you can do is you can get your torch out, and if you right click with it, they will get out of there immediately, which is something I didn't find out till quite late in the game, but that's pretty useful. Now, I accidentally switched to my bow, so let's trigger that trap. The way out of here is to the left, so let's go ahead and do that. So see that jump attack is a one-shot kind of kill for those one-clawed crabs. And I say one claw because we're going to come across 2 clawed crabs soon, who pose quite a different threat to us. Now these little enemies, they're not too bad. They're you're kind of happy to see them normally because they give you a way to earn back crystals, which can become quite a scarce resource in the game. So we see we're in a room where we can exit. So let's turn off the lantern and let's go outside. And this is going to be probably, I think, our first kind of predefined area, which is always here, no matter if you've died. And you see that's kind of denoted by the shape of the room on the map. So it's a predetermined area. And these are really useful for when you want to like replenish your stock after dying, because there will always be a series of items available here. I'm going to keep this campfire unused for now. I don't think we're in a massive rush to use it. What we're going to find is we're going to start running out of inventory, and I'm going to have to stress about which items to keep or not. But that's okay, it's a good problem to have. And I generally at this point know what items I want to be keeping. Now, one of the main benefits of coming to this area, as well as like replenishing your stock, is this is the first time you'll come across a secret which will unlock a shortcut back to the main beach, which is where you'll spawn when you die. So you can then come back this way and get back to where you were a little bit quicker. Now, unfortunately, I need an item to do that, and we don't possess that item at the moment. So we'll go and find that. Normally they're within the same area, or at least on the same floor when you need an item. Unfortunately, we need to collect some meat from this beautiful little fox. Annoyingly, sometimes they don't have meat, they just have leather, which is a shame. Alright, so we're running out of space again. We've got a bundle of arrows. We need to combine 2 more of those to make one after. We're gonna drop this. I said earlier that I don't tend to find them too useful. The leather in the same vein as well. Even the bomb to a certain extent. I'm sorry, little fox. Ah, you didn't even give me any loot. Now I feel even more guilty. Now, here's a great example of an area which is sensible to arrange your inventory in. You'll notice, like, you see the padlocks? That means they're not changing here. It's a safe zone. There's not many of these safe zones. So you can take as long as you want sorting your inventory, and you're not going to be wasting hunger, or you know, you're not going to be getting thirsty. You don't have to worry about the time you're wasting. Okay, so generally speaking, normal arrows are pretty weak. If you like using a bow and arrow, it might be fun to use, but generally I'm not going to waste my inventory space with them for now. String is used to, bomb arrows are what I want to stock up on, and these are used in bomb arrows, as is the combination of 3 of these items, so I'll keep those. But these are used in fire arrows, but I don't tend to use them too much. And we're going to drop the bomb. If we're stacking bomb arrows, then the bombs, they don't stack and they do the same thing. So we're going to try and be a little bit more what's the word, I guess ruthless with our inventory management. Food you can kind of always pick up. Sticks are good because you turn those into, 3 of them turn into a bundle, which is how you can make 4 arrows. You can make individual arrows as well. Individual arrows will take 1 stick, but if you do a bundle first, you'll get 4 out of it, so it's more economical to make them in sets of 4. But sometimes your inventory space will mean you're probably gonna just use the odd single stick here rather than throwing it away. Now, I know there's more items below, and we are going to go and discover those, but for now we're going to travel up here because I know there's a few things we need to investigate up here. So this is another shortcut that we're unable to go into, so we're going to find the other side of that shortcut in due time. And then we've got some more items. We don't need to collect the rock at the moment. The arrows we're not collecting. I do recommend you pick up the arrows and play with them yourself, see if you enjoy using them in combat. But for me, it's I'm quite happy with not using the arrows in combat, at least in this playthrough. Okay, so we're going to explore up north. There's a couple of things up here for us to find. And this is especially if you're struggling to get back to your corpse, because when you die, you want to get back to your corpse in order to retrieve all the loot that you had on you. But if you die on the way to your corpse, you'll lose everything that was on your existing corpse, right? So sometimes this is a good place to come and stock up and make sure that you've got some, you know, some bandages, etc. on you that's going to keep you going. Okay, so I just found a piece of armor. I also found a marble. So let's have a look at our inventory for a sec. So you can see that the armor goes in a special category of its own. My only understanding so far is that the little shield icon means you can absorb a hit that many times before this is destroyed. So if I put it on, if I take one hit, this will go. So for me, I'm going to actually keep it until I'm low on health, and then I will put the armor on. You can see I've got a floor key here, and you can see this is for the second floor. And we've got a marble, and this is used in your pocket area or the stash in order to unlock more storage space. Okay, so I have a little nose about. I think that was all we needed to collect up in this section, but we'll double check. Yeah. I remember the first time I played through this, like seeing all these ships with the rain and the music and the atmosphere and the really like what's going on. It really gives you a dark message of why are all these ships similar to my ship that I came on, washed up on the beaches of this island. Like, am I the only one who's ever come here? It's very doubtful, and it puts questions in your head immediately, which you don't have to try and find an answer to, but it just plants the little seed that something's not right where we are. Okay, so let's go and collect the rest of the things we got. We had some food. There's an item over here, I believe. There's some fish in there I should probably try and catch. Our inventory's full at the moment, and you can hear a noise. So that noise you can hear means you're close to one of these magical things, and this is going to be the first lantern shard that we're going to find. You shine your light at it, and you get the shard of the lantern. And these are the things that you need to collect as you go through the game. So yeah, it's a lot easier to do if you find yourself with the lantern out. It's going to pretty much show it visually a lot quicker than you'd otherwise find it. So okay, what items have we got we can get rid of? We got a load of these at the moment. I don't fancy making these weak bandages, so I think we can actually dispose of a couple of these and the sticks for now as well. We're also going to get some fish. And you can see my excellent fishing skills once again. Third time lucky is my approach. Okay, we got this. Oh, we got this. Come on, fishy fish. There we go. Okay. Where's the... There we go. Sometimes you have to shuffle your position a bit in order to locate it. So, I just had a thought. We probably will light this campfire. And then I can store these. Because these items, as much as we have many of them, later in the game they become a lot more scarce to find. Because different layers in the game seem to be... I guess the spawn areas for different items. And these blood mosses, you won't find much of them after the third or fourth layer at least. I think the third. So we'll store these for later. We can get rid of them in our little stash if we wish. Something else I might do is make some basic bandages using the leather. In the meantime, because they're not basic, the second tier of the bandages, because they're still pretty good. Okay. I'll keep hold of that for the same reason. So we're going to go ahead and yeah, for the first time we're going to... We can't actually... I forgot, you haven't discovered what's known as the stash yet, so we'll wait until that is shown to us and then we'll see how that works. I found if you combine 3 bits of meat, you get plus the triple plus. But if you do 2 and a veg, it doesn't quite give you the same amount. It's about balancing it really. What the ideal is. There's some things we can do 2 of one and 1 of the other, and it will still give you 3. But I think what we'll do for now is just use the good stuff, because we can use these in potions with mushrooms perhaps a little later. Okay, so we're quite happy we've explored that. We'll get into floor 2, back onto floor 2. And if you remember, we found the key already, we just haven't found the exit. And back into the darkness we go. You start appreciating already how light it was outdoors. Oh, so these are examples of the little critters that you should keep an eye out to help keep your food supply up. And if you didn't know, you are able to eat food raw, so I could just eat that morsel. And it does replenish my stats, but not as much of them. So it's generally not a good idea, but if you're gonna die, then definitely do it. Okay, let's get the sword back out and let's get going. So I believe we've discovered these bits already. Yeah, we have. Okay, so gets us a bit more food. One from the little rat thing. So these bats, you know, as much as when I first started, I was worried they were going to do damage to me, but they do nothing. They can, as I said earlier, they can slow you down when you're walking, which can be a mild inconvenience. But the fact you're likely going to get 2 or 3 bits of food from them makes them pretty much a good thing. I now get happy when I see the bats. We may get to a point where we've got no room for meat, which is a very, very good kind of position to be in, to be honest. Because there'll be certain parts of the game where you do not find meat, you do not find food, and you've just got to use the supplies you've already got. So, okay. Let's go downwards this time. So, down and right, the map said there's some room. I think that might be us full on food as well, which is good. So generally, the other reason I'll eat meat in the game is, like, without cooking it, is if I'm full on, like, food supplies. Then I'll start eating it through and then picking up the piece that I had no room for. Which generally works quite well. Because it does replenish some of your thirst as well. So there's a lot more to this room. I am going to explore it fully, but I'm aware there's one room up here that we can go and explore, and then I'll have to backtrack a little bit. I think I will anyway. Yeah. Oh well, we're going to try and fully explore as we go through. Well, in the easier bits at least we are. So you can see I shield bashed him there. Now I used my right click and just tapped it, which is a good way to take on these crabs. It knocks them back. Sometimes it can stun them, depending on which enemy it is as well. Now these, we haven't mentioned before, so these little fires that you can light, they're useful because, yeah, they give a bit of light. However, what's also good about them is if you light them, once they finish burning, which takes a minute or 2, they then leave an ember behind, which is that material that you combine 3 of in order to get the phosphor, which then allows you to create explosives. So yeah, it's sometimes, even if you don't feel you need the light, it's worth considering lighting them even just for that reason. They do serve a second purpose on the 4th floor. We'll have a look at that when we get there, because they do generate heat as well. Okay, so we can see we've got to one of those rooms where there's an extra kind of dead end room here, but likely this is going to contain some item or some chest for us to use. Be careful of the trap. You can use traps against the enemies as well. We'll do that next time we come across the right scenario. We're also at a point where we have no room for this, so we're going to pick up the string. We got enough to combine the string yet? No, but we need to. That is a valuable resource for us, the 3 combined strings as well, so we'll keep hold of that for now. There we go. Okay. So combine those. We've now got the weave, and that can be combined when we get another ember, which we will do when we go back through that last room, because I lit the fire. Then we can combine it to make some more bomb arrows. Now here is the first example of something you need to do in order to get access. So you can't chop through this, and this was what I'm slightly embarrassed to say. It took me the longest to figure out. So the way to get through these is it's an organic material in the way. So if you get out your flame and use your secondary function on it to wave, the thing that got the bats away, that will clear this for you. So that's worth being aware of. Okay. Now I would say these rooms are generally safe, but that's not always true. So it's worth checking them over sometimes before running straight into them. And that is a great example of why it's also useful to break the random pots, because that tends to be where you'll find these marbles. And if you remember, the marbles I said earlier are used to essentially give you more storage in your stash area. Okay, so we've got a green mushroom this time. And in the chest we're going to find a bundle, a blaster. Great, okay, that's handy. So we'll make ourselves some more explosive arrows shortly. Cool. Let's get back then. I think that's it. We've got some more little creatures here, but we'll stop killing these now that we're full on meat. Hopefully you get the idea of what they're used for. All the food you eat will give you some stuff back, apart from the mushrooms. The mushrooms will not give you back food or kind of, sorry, hunger or thirst. They won't replenish those statistics. But when you combine them and cook them, that's where you'll get a benefit out of. So here now we can see we can pick up that little leftover ember because the fire has finished burning. We'll then combine this. Oh, we don't have individual string. That's the final thing we need because we combined it to make that. We need this in order to create the potions, so that's we do need it. Okay, that's all good. It's all good. We can hold on to them for now. So we're going to go down. This is the room we partly explored before, so we need to be aware of traps. I'm in a fortunate situation at the moment because I'm moving decently quick. As much as I'm commentating and taking longer than I'd normally do. We've got 72 crystals, which means we can pretty much leave our lantern on permanently, which will really help us detect traps and hopefully avoid premature deaths that aren't needed. The word premature there, perhaps a bad choice, because premature means dying sooner than you will. We're hoping not to die. Positive thinking is what we need here. So we came in that way. Okay, I'm quite cautious of traps down here. So we've got one here. Good news about this here is we're going to get string from this trap. I often find restoring at the puddle is good. It refills your bottles if you've drunk from any of your bottles, but also it replenishes your thirst. And that's one of the ones I almost always forget about. And also I'll have to waste some good food in order just to get a drink sometimes. Okay. Quite satisfied we cleared that room out. Now, I don't recommend running around as fast as I am if you're new to the game as well, especially if you're exploring areas you've never explored before. I'm fortunate to be in a position where I know what types of traps are in this area. I don't know where they are, but I know that there's not going to be a random nasty one that I wasn't expecting. First time you play through, though, you quite often come across examples of nasty traps that you weren't expecting, which will kill you in one go. So yeah, do take care when you're playing this yourselves. Okay, and you might have noticed that fox, once I hit it, once it started going for me, they will attack you once you engage in combat with them. Oh, and we also now have the materials, don't we, to make the arrows. So we should do that to make sure we get this. Oh, did I not pick up the string from the last place? I don't think I did. Okay, there we go. Now, annoyingly, these explosive arrows, they don't stack to 8 like the other arrows, which means you can carry less of them, but they're still easier to carry around more of than the skull bombs that you'll find. And they seem to have the same effect, so... Okay, so it's really nice. The sound design in this is... the noise in the headphones is leading me here, you know? And I know that I picked up the key earlier in the game. So I can do that. Oh, I just realized, did I... Earlier we found this, which is for the beach, to unlock the shortcut. So we actually didn't unlock that shortcut, which is a little bit of a shame. We're going to go and do that now, because as much as I don't plan to die, if I do die, I'd much prefer to be able to get back to this part quickly. So we're going to go and quickly run all the way back. And at least now we know the path we're traveling is relatively safe. There's a small chance I may have missed a trap, but most of the enemies will be done. And this is a good way, if you're short on food, like running between screens like this, you'll hear the squeak of the mice, and you might see the little dust kind of particles they leave behind them when they run. So yeah, hunting those down quickly and killing them is really one of the main ways that you'll keep your meat or your food supply up. Now with the dashing, you can press space to, well, I say dash, it's more of a dodge. I'm almost certain it doesn't make you go faster, because you pause after you use it. And I'm really glad about that, because I don't like looking at people playing games where the character's constantly dashing around. It looks really peculiar, and I know not all games are trying to be realistic, but it still kind of detracts away a bit from it. As if you ever see anyone speedrunning games, you'll always see it that they're doing some kind of jump or kind of gliding along the floor technique in order to go faster. I'm pretty glad that the dodge in this doesn't seem to move you faster. So I found this item up on the little island at the top, and I forgot to use it. If you remember earlier, we came across this, and this was locked. We had nothing to do it. Well, we had nothing, sorry, to unlock it. But now we can use this North Shore key, and that unlocks this area. And if we take this lift up, you'll see our very first, well, our first major shortcut unlocked. And if you'd come to this area before, a rock was blocking the way, but now it is not. In the same way that this building over here is closed, later you'll find this door will open based on finding the other way out of it. So we're now back on the first area, the beach. So there's no real need for me to carry on exploring, but now that I've gone up the lift, it means that I can get back this way. So it's always worth doing, or at least exploring the shortcuts, so that you can use them when needed. I love the ambience set by the light coming in and the long shadow. Just to show as well, yeah, I can walk into those spikes now. They don't cause damage. Once you've triggered them, you really don't need to be careful around those spikes. There are some trap or spikes that you'll come across later in the game where it doesn't quite work the same way. But it's good to know for those, so you can relax a little more when you're doing something similar to me where you need to run through quite quickly. You see, there's more little rats that we could kill if we wanted to. Our food supply is pretty good. Okay, so we're back where we were now. A little detour was unfortunate, but now at least we can collect that because we set the fire when we left. Do we have anything we want to make here? No, so for the bandages we need those kind of slimy stones. They're probably the rarest kind of material to come across. Okay, now we're now between layer 2 and 3. And yeah, in terms of campfires, there will be one campfire per floor. Sometimes in special little rooms you'll find extra ones, but broadly speaking, you'll come across one campfire. And this is the first time you can see you're kind of blocked. We can shine our light on it. That will open up a doorway for us, but something mysterious is there. A really bright light. And this is where you get introduced to the pocket, or the stash that I've been referring to. So you get here normally, when you use a campfire, if you choose the sleeping option, then it will take you to this area. And this section is a safe area, there's no monsters, you know, your hunger and your thirst, etc. won't go down. You have a campfire, you have a water supply. But most importantly, it's a place for you to store different items. So you can store food supplies here. So I'm going to take the chance to store some meat there. Oh, we still got a visual display bug there, that's unfortunate. You can store weapons. You can store armor. You can place marbles here to expand your your storage, which we'll do in a second. And then you can store general items. So at the moment the items we're lacking is the things to make potions. So we're just going to drop those in here. Is there anything else we particularly want to keep? I guess the explosive. The bomb things are good, but we may not need any of them yet. So, and then finally you have a storage for your white crystals. So as I use the different marbles, you can see it shows you what has been upgraded. So I now have an extra row of slots that I can use, which is actually really convenient right now. We'll keep one of those. I think we will make arrows quite quick, so I'll keep... no, you know what, we'll store one of those. Yeah, okay, and this is, for me, I actually use this as a reordering my inventory screen as well, through juggling things around. The only annoying thing is that when you take things out, you only take one out, so you kind of need to spam it. But it's not too bad. So maybe people don't care about the order of your inventory, and good on you if that's the case. But for me, this stuff bothers me. I like to have a rough idea what's the stuff I can get rid of. When I'm trying to manage my inventory, when I'm trying to discard stuff, I like to know the top stuff is what I want to keep. And the bottom stuff is are examples of generally things that I will not throw on the floor. Okay, and we had a second marble as well. And that gives us more room to store items, which is cool. And did we... I don't think we had an empty container to cook on, did we? No, we've got both of them still. So for now, we're just going to go back to the sleep. So it forces you to learn that sleeping makes you leave this place. And then you get that natural hint then that it's how you actually get to this place too. So again, very, very nice design. Forcing you to do something, but in a way that doesn't feel like a pointless, like, press this to do this. You're like, well, what if I don't want to do it? It's done in a really... I think a natural way, with combining it with the mystery that you get in this game with what was that white light about, what was that whole process about. Okay, so if we reached floor 3 for the first time here, then we have ourselves a healthy inventory. So I'm going to stop this video here for now, and we will continue with this third floor in the next video. Thank you for watching.